Battery Buzz podcast is brought to you by H.B. Fuller Company. H.B. Fuller is a world leader in supplying adhesives, encapsulants, coatings, and sealants for the EV and battery industry. Hi, and welcome to the first episode of the Battery Buzz podcast, the show for battery professionals by battery professionals, keeping you connected with what's new with batteries and the people that build them. Your host of this podcast will be myself, Michael Owens, and my colleague Elizabeth Knazs, both battery experts at H.B. Fuller. Now let's jump in. So this being our first episode, we wanted to take Battery Buzz on the road to the Advanced Automotive Battery Conference in San Diego. We had the opportunity to meet and talk with a lot of really interesting people across the battery industry. And in this upcoming segment of what's new with batteries, we wanted to share some of the discussions we had and the highlights. Hi, it's Mike and Elizabeth here on the Battery Buzz podcast. This is our very first episode, and we're here at the AABC conference here in San Diego. We're hoping to talk to a lot of people across the industry, battery manufacturers, suppliers, and really learn what's what with the battery industry today.
Yeah, and Mike and I were fortunate to attend last year, and so we're happy to be back. There's a lot of good lectures and a lot of good talks to attend here, as well as we've already had some great conversations with fast charging stations, also solid state battery companies, and just learning about what's new out there.
So, Elizabeth, what do you think were some of the interesting things and thoughts that you had coming out of the show?
I really like attending the AABC show. There's a lot of interesting lectures and educational talks, kind of helping you figure out where the future of EV and battery is going. There's a lot of good networking and people all over the industry, all the way from cell manufacturers as far as recyclers. So you get the whole run of the gamut of people there. So there's some great conversations and some really great connections there.
Yeah, and I think that was a really neat part of it, is that, like, with the conference portion, right? It's super educational, right, across the industry. But it also brings together a lot of the different businesses and connects the business side of it all, right? So it's very educational and technical, as well as being a place where a lot of professionals can get together and actually get things done, right? The exchanging of ideas, and then also the exchanging of materials and product, right? Which I thought was pretty cool. I think one of the highlights for me of the show was actually recording this podcast, because we had we have a camera at the show at our booth, and people are just like, oh, what's going on over there, right? We got to check this out.
Yeah, it was pretty happening at the booth.
Yeah, well, the camera created a lot of buzz.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was really cool. Well, and it was cool because it attracted everybody across the industry, right? I mean, we manufacture adhesives, and so a lot with the large OEMs, as well as module and pack assembly level people, right? But we got to talk to people from the whole gambit, right? From ventless fume hoods, right? One of the people we interviewed, they did ventless fume hoods for cell assembly, right? And
yeah,
I thought that was cool. That's a whole angle and aspect of the industry that we don't talk to, all the way to large OEMs. So it was neat to see everybody.
Yeah, we talked to ElringKlinger, so Thomas from ElringKlinger. He had some interesting information to offer, and they specialize in a complete lithium-ion battery system for modules and for energy storage. So we got to interview him.
Yeah, and we've actually got a clip of that interview with you too.
Yeah, let's take a look. Hi, Thomas. Welcome to AABC. Thank you for joining our podcast. I just want to know, what does ElringKlinger do, and can you give us a little bit of background on that?
Hi, yeah, my name is Thomas Friedo. I'm with ElringKlinger, and our company is a German-based company, and we make a lot of automotive components, over 100 years old, and we are like a lot of companies in the transition phase from like typical ICE engine components more to EV-related components, and that's where I'm working on. I worked for over 30 years on ICE components, and now I transitioned like almost 2 years now into the battery division, where our company makes like components for battery modules, battery packs, and cell contacting system, and other parts. And that's also how we know H.B. Fuller as a part of a component which is often used in battery cells.
Awesome. And how are you enjoying AABC this year?
It's nice. It's a nice turnout. Interesting presentations, also seminars. So having a lot of good conversations. Looking forward how the next days will continue.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for coming by. We appreciate you visiting us.
Elizabeth.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that was a great interview with Thomas from ElringKlinger. So it was great meeting him, and we've met before and worked together. So we have a good relationship.
Yeah. And another interview that kind of stuck out to me was when I got to talk to Stephen from Konics. So they're a cell manufacturer that specializes in lithium sulfur batteries, right? And so that was another example of different cell chemistries that I got to learn about that are out there on the horizon and growing. So here's a little clip of some of the conversation I had with Stephen too.
All right, I'm here with Stephen. Stephen, how can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what company you work for and what you do there?
Sure. My name is Stephen Burkhart. I work for a company called Konics. We're in Ithaca, New York, and we are a lithium sulfur battery company.
Interesting.
I'm the CTO there.
Wow. All right. So lithium sulfur. I know the show is all about battery innovation. You share a little bit of what makes you guys unique compared to what most other battery manufacturers here are doing.
Sure. So I think really it comes down to two things. One of them is lithium sulfur. Lithium sulfur is sort of the next best advanced battery chemistry. It's low cost relative to everything out there on the market today, and it can be high energy density, higher than something like NMC or NCA oxide cathodes.
Certainly more than LFPs, right?
It's certainly more gravimetric than LFP. LFP, though, is LFP's volumetric energy density is really that's the benchmark that we're trying to beat right now.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of your show.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting technology.
Yeah, right. And I thought it was cool because when it's at full scale, right? The idea is that they are looking to be more energy dense as well as reduce costs, right? So I think these sort of things, if they really hit, right, they're going to change the industry, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things that people are doing. Like the one interesting thing that I had never heard of was South8 Technologies. They were doing LiGas, they call it, technology. That's a liquefied gas electrolyte that they are putting in lithium-ion batteries. So that was another interesting one that was unique that I had not seen yet.
I was going to say, when you got a chance to talk to them, I was like, I've never even heard of this, right? And so, so my vision is these little pressurized cells, right, to create that liquid. But I can't even explain it as well as they do. So we'll just play the clip of your guys' interview.
Yeah, definitely. We have our friends from South8 Technologies here with us. Thank you for joining us, Trish and Victoria. So can you tell us a little bit about what South8 Technology does in the battery space and why you're here?
Yeah, so Southgate Technologies, we make liquefied gas electrolyte, and the benefits of that is safety and the fact that we can use our electrolyte in low temperature applications. So think about driving a car, an EV car in the Midwest when it's snowing or when it's really cold, it's going to perform not as well. Versus with our electrolyte and in our cells, we'd be able to perform at those low temperatures.
Wow, that's amazing. What awesome technology. So what do you guys think about the show so far?
I think it's really great. It's a great way for people within the battery space to gather, showcase their new technology, just like our company is doing right now. And it's also a great networking event, something that I really enjoy the most.
Well, great. It's great having you guys. Enjoy the rest of your show, and thanks for being on our podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, it was great talking to Victoria and Trish about that. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, and we got to talk to a ton of people, right? So
yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have infinite time on this podcast. We want to, get to some of the highlights, but we will launch an associated episode with this episode that has the full view of all of our interviews. So we had about a half hour's worth of interviews and content with different people. So I'd recommend go check that out after you watch this episode, so that you can get a little taste of what we got to experience at the AABC show. So
yeah, definitely.
But next, we want to kind of move into our next portion of the show, which is what we'll call battery banter, right? And battery banter is just going to be where we talk about a different topic within the battery and e-mobility space every week. Kind of talk about what's going on in the world presently with it, and what's going on in the future, and kind of get mine and Elizabeth's takes, which aren't always going to be agreeing, but we'll see who comes out on top in their opinions. So
yeah. So I did see something really interesting. I know we're on opposite ends of this, Mike, but I saw this morning on LinkedIn that Daimler and Mazda they created a joint agreement for hydrogen fuel. So getting hydrogen from Mazda to transported to Europe for the Daimler truck business in Europe. So so the great debate is hydrogen the next wave of the future. I guess I have some drawbacks on hydrogen. I know hydrogen is more costly than using electrification. So I know, and it uses a lot of energy to create the hydrogen. And there's not that many hydrogen fuel cells. So that some of the downsides of hydrogen that I kind of see. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't always agree on this subject, but hearing the news about Daimler, I think it's awesome, right? Because I think I've always said that the one major use case, especially in the short term, is over-the-road trucking, right? So I think the challenge with doing a fully electric tractor trailer, right, is there are federal limits, at least here in the United States, on how heavy your entire truck can be. So that's your truck plus your payload, and so with a full electric vehicle, right? You think about it, right? You can, the normal calculus is just add more batteries and you can increase your range. But as you add more batteries to increase your range for like a tractor trailer that requires a lot of energy to move, you're decreasing the amount of material that you can ship, right? So it really becomes challenging to do over the road trucking. But with hydrogen fuel cells, which are way more efficient than even ICE engines, right? And in some ways are more efficient than EVs, right? Obviously, you've got to transfer the energy from the fuel cells to electricity to driving the vehicle in your typical hydrogen fuel cell. But they're much more efficient than ICE vehicles. And
yes. I don't know about EVs, but I think definitely ICE vehicles.
Yeah, well, the energy conversion from
because it takes double the energy to produce the hydrogen. So
yes, but you can maintain that weight, right? And think about it, right? How far a tractor trailer can get on a full tank of, diesel fuel. Now you're talking about that same truck going, 600 miles without having to stop, and then you're just filling it up like you would a normal tank, right?
Yeah. And
Um,
I think the one benefit I do see of hydrogen is the zero emissions, which none of the other technologies get us there. So
yeah,
that's the one benefit that I would say.
yeah, right. But I do acknowledge, right, the challenges with the infrastructure, right? I mean,
Mm.
that is the one thing that, I would say outside of the trucking industry, it might be a challenge for adoption for traditional EVs, right? I think we talk about EV infrastructure right now needing to become more robust. And so now thinking about layering completely new infrastructures, I think is going
Yeah.
to be a challenge, right? And I think yeah, we'll see, but I would anticipate that there is going to be a place for hydrogen fuel cells in the short term, and definitely going into the long term.
Well, I
Um,
think definitely Daimler Truck,
yeah,
Europe is definitely sold. I mean, they're not 100% hydrogen, but I think
yeah,
they're going to be about, I think the article said about 60%. So I guess maybe that's one point for Mike
yeah. Well,
in the trucking.
I think about like the cost argument, right? I
Yeah.
know, I don't want to, belabor my point, but I think long ago the figuring out the cost for, EVs was going to be really expensive, and it still has its expenses right now. But I do think of, and this is an old reference, I'm not even old enough to be making this reference, but I do think of Sylvester Stallone in Demolition Man. So it's
Hmm.
basically the premise. I don't know if anyone will get this reference, but the premise is Sylvester Stallone is chasing this criminal, and they cryogenically freeze this criminal, and 50 years in the future, the guy gets out on parole, and by then we've eliminated all crime, and everyone runs their cars on hydrogen fuel cells, and the first thing Wesley Snipes' character, who's the villain in the movie, does is he gets I forget if it's like a baton or a flashlight or something, and unscrews the cap of one of these hydrogen fuel cell cars and jabs it in there, and it causes this big explosion, and people are like going crazy. And but yeah, right. I mean, I don't know enough on the safety side of hydrogen fuel cells, but it's a really good point, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
a doofy story that I bring up, but you think about it, right? Hydrogen, you think about the Hindenburg, right? It's
Yeah.
could pose a lot of safety concerns. So,
Yeah. Definitely
that's
agree.
definitely something, and not to bring up a future topic, but maybe autonomous driving will that, but yeah, in its current form, I don't know if how the safety portion of it works. So I think that's a point in your court there, Elizabeth. Although I think I made the whole argument against myself with the
Yes,
whole
I, no,
Sylvester Stallone Wesley Snipes story.
I think I'm winning here, Mike.
Yeah, I think so. So, but yeah, no,
And I think
I
we
think
should
it'll be an
get,
interesting future.
our viewers watch, our viewers, and they can give their
Exactly.
comments on this and let
There
us
you go.
know if we're
I
wrong
like
or if
it.
we're right.
That'll be our first little wrinkle. So yeah, it's up to
Yeah.
you guys to comment and give us your feedback, and we'll let you guys decide who won. But yeah, so that is the about all the time that we have for today. So I wanted to thank everyone that we talked to at the show, and it was a really enriching experience. And um, thank all of our viewers for joining us today, and I hope you enjoyed our first episode, and I hope you join us next month with our episode of Battery Buzz Podcast. We'll be joined by Ryan Spray from Exponent, a company, an engineering testing company that does a lot of testing for battery companies and module manufacturers. So we'll enjoy getting his take on the battery industry and his unique perspective. And then, before we let you guys go, please follow us on LinkedIn. HB Fuller's LinkedIn page is just type battery adhesives, and you'll see our ePower LinkedIn page. And then Please also, if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts, ideas on future battery banter subjects, as well as potential interviewees. I don't think we'll be able to get Elon Musk if you're asking for it, but who knows? If you guys like and comment enough, we might get there. And then on Spotify, please follow us as well. So, well, thank you all, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, everyone.